Hello, I'm here today to talk about registering for courses. And before you meet with me to discuss which courses you'll be registering for, or indeed before you register for classes, there are three sources of information you will want to look at. Number one is DegreeWorks. Number two is suggested courses for first year students in a major, if you have a major, or if you don't, if you're scouting one out. And three, the actual class schedule to see what is open and offered next term and see if it's offered at a time you can take classes. Let's go over these one by one. Okay, DegreeWorks is a very rich source of information, but it can also be an overwhelming source of information. And for the purposes of registering for first year students, I'm just going to look at a couple of kinds of information DegreeWorks can give us. So first and foremost, if you're in a program, and this would be most students, where you have general education requirements, and then there are a few exceptions like the Honors College, where those are folded into the Honors College program. You're going to, in your first couple of years of college, want to clear out as many of these lower division university studies or general education courses as you can. And DegreeWorks quite helpfully lets us know about quantitative reasoning, including this checkbox saying there's not a math placement test that's been taken. And I, and particularly your student success coordinator, can help you make some sense of that and figure out how to take a math placement test. And then for the three major sequences of lower division university studies or general education courses, there are humanities, there are social science classes, and there's science classes. And we call these explorations classes because you're exploring, you're getting. Okay, so that's one use, seeing which classes you need. Now, there are a tremendous number of classes listed here. I do not find that terribly helpful. When you go to the course schedule, the class schedule, which we'll be looking at a little bit later in this video, it's easy to see which classes are offered in the following term or following two terms and see what actually fits your interest. Okay, the second thing I just wanted to mention with DegreeWorks is if you have chosen a major, you can see if you've got a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts, which generally comes down to math versus 2 years of language. Bachelor of Arts, you need 2 years of a foreign language. Bachelor of Science, you take more math. So we'll talk about those requirements. But then if you have a major, and so here a criminal justice major, this will list all the potential things that can fulfill the requirements for that major. Now, that will be more important down the road, when you're a sophomore, junior, or senior, in later years of college. For your initial year of college, I find the second source of information I am going over, the list of suggested courses for first year or new students in a major, is much more helpful. But I wanted to mention this ahead of time so you have a sense of what it can do. Okay, let's talk about the suggested courses for new and first year students for specific majors, if you know a major. If you don't know your major, go ahead and have a look at some majors you're interested in. You may want to cover your bases and explore the major by looking at some of these recommended courses for students who are new to the major. This can be a little difficult to find, or at least I have trouble finding it. So here is a link, and I'll put a link in the comments for you to follow. You can also just go up to the search box and enter academic advising is the way I do it. And let the search do its thing. And here at the first result will get academic advising. And if I click on that, there's several different resources listed over here in this little sidebar. But I'm going to go to majors and minors. It's taking its time. Okay, here we go. And here are all our different majors and minors. And if we choose one of these, let me go with the science one, computer science. Interested in becoming a computer science major. There's a lot of good information here. You know, how to make an initial advising appointment if you're interested in declaring for that, the math requirements, and then here, suggested new student schedule is what will help you. And there's a first, second, third, and fourth term. And notice that this is kind of agnostic when it comes to which first, second, third, and fourth term. So, you know, if you think you want to major in computer science and you're registering for winter term, your first year of school, there's no need to panic if you didn't take some of these courses in the fall. You know, this is just a suggestion about what will best prepare you for the major if you take the courses in this sequence. Getting to the class schedule is easy. It's right up here at the very top of the Inside SOU landing page. Let's have a look. Okay, here we are in the course schedule. First and foremost, be sure you are in the right term. You would be surprised how often we're not. So if things don't seem like they're working, if things don't make any sense, the first thing I always check is, am I in the right term? All right, if you know your major and you've looked at DegreeWorks and you've looked at the first year recommendations for courses in that major, you can select a subject. And suppose you're majoring in math and use search. And here it will show you all the math courses for the next term. And you can see who is teaching them, you can see what days they are on, and so forth and so on. You can call up the catalog description of a particular course to see what's going on in there, and you can see if there are any prerequisites. And you can see here that this has a prerequisite, Math 111, and so forth. So there's a lot of information there. Now, if you're a first year student and you need to find general education courses, and almost all first year students will need to look for university studies or general education courses. And there are a few programs like honors, for instance, where those courses are folded into that program. So if you're in a program like honors, you do not need to find general education courses. You just need to take the honors courses, and they will cover your general education. But usually you're going to need to fill some general education courses. We looked at that in DegreeWorks to find out which areas you need to fill. And you know, wonderfully, there is this filter in the upper right hand corner of the class schedule where we can see math classes, math classes that satisfy the math requirement, humanities, social sciences, and science courses, and science non-lab courses, all right up there at the beginning. So let's just go with, if you're looking for social science and you hit search, and here are all of the courses being offered in this term that satisfy the general education or university studies requirement for social science. So if you're interested in Introduction to Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies, again, you can click on it, get a sense, whoops, let me pull this over where you can see it, get a sense of what the course involves. You can print the page to an Acrobat file if you'd like to keep it, and so forth. You can see what day it is on, you can see its number, and particularly there's a number over here that is especially important, and that is called a CRN number. Let me make a jump cut, and we will zoom in on one. Okay, I have zoomed in on the class schedule. Over here in the very most left-hand column, you'll see 4 numbers, and that's called a CRN. It stands for Course Registration Number, and that is what you will need to register. So if you're meeting with me, I ask you to look at some potential courses, and I ask you to bring the course names and things, but I also ask you to bring those CRNs. Jump cut. As with most things online, if you're particularly interested in something, say the history of cinema with Christopher Lucas, you can just select it and copy it and then paste it to another document. So it's really easy to keep track of all of this, particularly if you're working from a computer. A little more challenging with a cell phone, but so what I would like you to do before you meet with me, and what you will need to do to register anyway, is to have a list of potential courses and their CRNs, their course registration numbers. Now, if you have university studies, or also called general education courses to fill, you can use this filter to look for those courses. So here I'm looking for humanities. And then when you find some that work with your schedule and that interest you, let's say the history of art with Jennifer Longshore, you copy that information. You keep that information somewhere. You jot it down, or you cut and you paste it, and you have that at hand. You'll need that to register, and it will make our meeting go much more smoothly. And I can give you actual advice instead of walking you through these cumbersome mechanics in person. So there you have it. That is the way to use the course schedule. If you want to get fancy, if you know you don't get up until after 1:30 p.m., you can say only show me classes after that. If you know a really great instructor like Elizabeth Eckhart over in Shakespeare Studies, say I just want to see classes that Liz is teaching, you can look at that. If you know you don't want to take any classes on Friday, you can fill it out. You can just, I want only lower division courses, Monday through Thursday. You can get really specific, but for most of our needs, the place to start, if you need general education courses, is over here in the University Studies course filters. And if you need classes in a specific major, if you've chosen a major, if you've looked at the recommended first year courses in that major, say education, you can click on that. Okay, see you soon. Well, that was weird.